Welcome, Autobots and Decepticons. My name is Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Kaon, and I'm joined today by Troy Pacelli, also known as Karton the Klingon Cleric, and Netta from Netta's Network. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for having us. And for all of you moms out there, happy Mother's Day.
Yup.
Yeah, so today we are going to be covering the first season of Ben 10 Alien Force. Now, this I'm very curious to see what you have to say about, especially considering everything you thought about the movies beforehand.
Yeah. So we already made a big jump forward in time. So you expect that to be a little bit jarring. We get some explanation of what's happened in between, but not much. And I don't think all of my questions were answered.
Like how did the Omnitrix get off his wrist?
Yeah, I mean they make reference to how difficult it was to get it off the first time. They alluded to the reason they took it off of him was so that he could have a normal life, but they never actually explain how they got it off, and they certainly don't get specific on the why of it.
Yeah.
Ben and Gwen have aged up a little bit, with Gwen now being voiced by Ashley Johnson.
Yep.
Which is way cool. I'm good with that. I don't have a real problem with that. Let's see.
They don't say how old they are now. I mean,
They're 15 years old.
Oh, they're 15. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a 5-year jump in time.
Ah, got it. Okay.
And they're going into high school now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was I also going to say about that? Oh, animation style.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's a little bit different, but not jarringly so. I was good with it. The return of Kevin. Again, I don't think we really get an explanation of how he gets out of the void. Which seems to be a recurring theme. People seem to get out of the void with zero explanation of how it happens.
And more powerful. How are they more powerful?
Well, I don't know. I mean, with Kevin, obviously part of it is if they're going to have him as a regular character, he needs to be able to look human. He can't constantly be going around looking like a mutant. So
actually, a reason he no longer looks like a mutant and is now human again. We will actually get an explanation for that, and it will actually be shown. That will be a lot later on.
Oh, okay. But his ability, and we kind of knew this. We knew that his ability was pretty much absorbing other people's abilities or whatever.
Yeah, because in the original series, absorbing energy.
Yeah,
he's still absorbing things. It's just instead of energy, it's physical matter instead.
Yeah, he's basically become like I don't know, the absorbing man from the comics, from Marvel Comics,
Yeah,
which isn't a bad way to go.
I know both Troy and I were thinking, oh, this is interesting. The Omnitrix is taking a while to turn on. And Troy was making the reference that, oh, maybe it's like a computer. It's got to reboot after not being used for a while, and now it's updating.
Yeah, that in that first episode, yeah, that's the excellent point. Yeah. He does end up putting the Omnitrix back on, and it's not starting for him right away, as if, like when you have your computer down for a while and it has to reach out to Windows to download, an update patch or something like that. And I'm hoping we get a little bit more explanation about that too, because now there's no explanation for why he's still limited to 10, but now it's 10 completely different aliens. I mean, when we've already seen that in various futures, he's got access to,
thousands.
At least 10,000.
And it was absolutely implied that aliens get added on and he gets access to more, not they shifted 10, you know.
The other thing was with his other aliens, when he got him, he's like, okay, what does this one do? How do I use this one? But with these new aliens, as soon as he became the alien, he knew exactly what they could do. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's because that's a feature of the Omnitrix that it's supposed to have when it's working properly. Is that it, not downloads, but like the natural instincts of whatever species Ben's turning into are put into his brain when he turns into them.
Right.
In the original series, because it wasn't working properly and it didn't do that do that naturally. It just sort of.
And we only actually know that because you've told us that. So as a viewer going along, I still don't know how we would get that, you know. But
yeah,
anyway.
and I know that because the show creators like they've been asked that by fans and they've given explanations.
Okay, well that's even worse. If you have to get the information from extraneous sources, then you know there's something missing in the storytelling.
And then there was a couple of times when the Omnitrix actually spoke, and he's like, "Omnitrix, is that you?"
Yeah.
And I did feel that the integration of Kevin was a little bit clunky. I do see the character development there, but it was kind of contrived and just kind of, I don't know. It was a rough start. It took a little while to really say, okay, I'm good with Kevin being there.
Yeah. So I have these Ben 10 top trumps. These are for the original series. I don't know if the Alien Force got any. Might have done. Yeah, Ben having like lost access to the or I think it was like 19 aliens he got in the original series. I suppose 20 if you count him getting Ghost Freak back.
Right, and it was never. He keeps saying 10, but it's like I got the impression from the first series that he wasn't limited to 10 when he got more.
Yeah, because I think this has actually. Obviously it has the Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max cars. I've got them at the front.
Yeah.
And then all these others are basically just the different aliens. Specifically the first 10. And then behind them are some of the extra aliens that Ben gets later.
Huh.
Because it's not like the Wildvine Cannonball and Upchuck, Ben Wolf, Eye Guy, Way Big. There's a few missing from the original series.
Gotcha.
I don't know if those cards were originally with this set, or if I lost them. Maybe potentially I lost them. That's probably why they're not there. I also have. Actually, I probably shouldn't show that one because we've not seen him yet.
Yeah.
Here's a figure of Ben. Big Chill. His wings are a little bent. That's because he's been sitting in a toy box for however long with other stuff on top of him.
Sure.
Also, this guy's made of translucent plastic with painted over. That's why he's so easily warped.
Yeah.
One of the more annoying things I find about translucent plastic. And also it can be very brittle after a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Goop.
Yep.
Echo.
Yep.
And Alien X. Funnily enough, he stands like this in the actual show.
Yes, he does.
So I suppose in the show we can call him an action figure.
That's fair.
One thing you'll notice, some of the new aliens that Ben has, have similar powers to one or two of the aliens he had before.
Yep.
Like how Swampfire is kind of like a mix of Wildvine and Heat Blast.
Yep.
And Echo here is kind of not identical to Ditto, because Ditto doesn't have sound powers, but he can split himself.
Yeah, that one is very similar.
Yeah. All of the previous aliens that Ben had, he can access them again, but not currently. They've been locked off from him. He will use those aliens later in the show, though.
Well, one thing that was kind of throwing things off was, Ben goes to Grandpa's rust bucket looking for him, can't find him, finds a secret message. It's like, it was like really cryptic, like, I've got the Omnitrix. It's safe.
Yeah.
They're never going to get it. And he's like, what? No, I have the Omnitrix. What's he talking about? So they don't really explain
that's
the
not the only thing he
crypticness.
found there.
Yeah, but that's the really weird cryptic message. Like, why was it so cryptic? It was never explained.
And again, you even mentioned that the previous aliens are closed off to him. No explanation of why. And it doesn't even seem like this is bothersome to Ben either. You would think that. So I get the impression he already knew that the aliens were closed off to him and that he didn't have access to the same ones or something like that.
Yeah, a couple times.
I would assume he realized.
Turn into him.
Yeah.
I would assume he realized that when he tried turning into an alien and noticed that the aliens he has access to aren't the same ones.
Gotcha.
I also kind of figured the other aliens being locked off, I kind of figured it's something to do with the Omnitrix recalibrating, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the show itself doesn't directly say that, and neither does I'm pretty sure the show writers, they don't say anything about that either. That's purely my own theory on that.
It does make me wonder, because there are so many things that are confusing because they're not covered and not explained until much later. I wonder if they don't bother with these things until fans start asking questions.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, I guess we'll throw in an explanation. Or I suspect more likely, I guess it's time we came up with an explanation.
Yeah. Although, sadly, how Ben got the Omnitrix off, that's going to remain a mystery until basically whenever the writers decide to come back and give us a reason.
Yeah.
That's one missed opportunity of both this show and some of the later shows, that they never fill in that gap.
And see, I feel like those are fairly important lore points, because you've established that it's not possible to, or very, very difficult to take it off. If you're going to have him take it off in between series, you kind of need to explain how that happened.
Yeah, did Gray Matter come and remove it for him?
Yeah.
I kind of figure maybe Grandpa and Gwen helped make some kind of machine similar to what Kevin and Vilgax made.
Perhaps,
because that worked. And that also wasn't very easy either.
Right.
But that's just a guess. I could be entirely wrong about that. So let's start talking about the episode.
Sure.
So we've got the first episode, which is technically, well, I watched it as one long episode, but technically it's a two-parter.
Yep.
That being Ben 10 Returns Part 1 and 2. I'm curious, did you watch it as one big episode, or
we
did
did
you
watch it as we did watch it as one episode.
Okay, then. So this show is written by, or at least helped by, Dwayne McDuffie, who I'm sure you'll know worked on the Justice League cartoon and Static Shock. And the very first thing that's kind of different from the original series, Ben and Gwen are actually getting along.
I like that very much. I right from them, coming back together again, I was like, man, I like this. It demonstrates some
maturity.
Yeah, they've matured, and it's a much better dynamic. And it also makes sense because they're going to be reintroducing Kevin, which is the, conflict in the group. You don't need them at each other all the time, too.
Yeah. Yeah, we already talked about the whole Omnitrix recalibrating and locking off aliens. Another thing that I noticed right off the bat, there's been a change in the way the plumbers have been presented. Because in the original series, they were very much a Men in Black type group.
Yes.
And now in this show, they're an intergalactic police force.
And they all have badges.
Now, obviously, it's been 5 years, so I kind of understand that there would be some changes. But that's another thing that probably should get some kind of explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not out of the realms of possibility.
And all the plumbers' kids have gotten their dad's badges. So is that telling me that all the dads now are dead?
Well,
or they have duplicate badges and are all fighting crime somewhere?
We'll probably find out about each one as we go, but just the existence of these plumbers' badges is a new concept too.
Yeah, and they're communicators.
Yeah, that they're communicators, right?
And technically, the Omnitrix technically counts as a plumber's badge as well. And you'll notice the plumber's badges have the Omnitrix symbol on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which in universe, I'm not completely sure on. I know, obviously, outside of the show, that was kind of making everything a little more similar and making everything line up a little more. But like in universe, I'm not sure why the plumber's badges would look like the Omnitrix.
So very clearly, we have some retcons going on here.
There was also a couple times when Ben would introduce himself, and he would just say, "I'm Ben. This is my cousin Gwen." Da da da, and the person he's talking to would go, "Wait, Ben? Are you Ben Tennyson? Is Max your grandfather? Oh my gosh!"
Yeah. So they're now suddenly famous. Yeah. At least in the
alien worldwide famous, more of famous to some aliens.
Right.
I think it's kind of not too out of the realm of believability because Max has been into space a few times, and obviously the plumbers have become intergalactic at some point.
Yeah, but one of them even said, you were, you're famous, but then you just disappeared, and that must be when he took the Omnitrix off his wrist.
Yeah, that would have been in the 5 years since the start of the show.
Yeah.
And we also get at least 2 people die on screen.
Yeah.
That being the fish. Well, I think he's a fish. This plumber here.
Yeah.
We don't actually see a body, but he obviously died. And then the other death is that random Forever Knight who picked up the damaged blaster.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, we even saw his skeleton for a brief moment.
Now, when that what was his name? The plumber. He great introduction too. He's introduced as though he's some sort of bounty hunter or some sort of baddie, and just turns out that no, he was there, looking for Max, and they're actually on the same side. Voiced by a voice actor by the name of Jeff Bennett. Now, I looked him up only because his voice just sounded so familiar to me. But as I'm looking through his body of work, even though he's done a few voices here and there that I probably heard him in things, he certainly wouldn't stand out to me. No main characters or anything like that. But he's just got that DC Comics, type voice, And I know he was in like DC Comics Showcase as the Spectre, but I would not remember him specifically as that. He did the voice of Alfred in Batman Year One. Again, I don't think he would specifically stand out in my memory because of that, but I
don't remember him voicing Alfred in that.
Yeah, he's done a lot of things. Little Mermaid, a bunch of.
I think it's Magister Labrid.
Yes.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce that.
Nah, no idea. But yeah, so I looked him up because I was like, man, that sounds. But no, I didn't recognize him. But I guess he's the equivalent of a a character actor, but with, voice acting, that voice that you've heard him so many times in so many things, and you just can't quite place him,
Yeah.
But yep.
And then the other thing about the episodes is they would show Grandpa Max doing something, and it's like, okay, is this the same time as Ben and Gwen do something, or is this something happened in the past, and we're now seeing it from Grandpa Max's perspective, and they haven't caught up to him yet? Because like at one point they drive past the diner where Max had been.
Yeah, well, that's not in the first episode. That's in a later episode.
But I mean, just for an example,
I think it is Max is slightly ahead of them.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that does get a little confusing, and it's actually quite common in this show for it having a difficult time grasping when things are happening chronologically, which makes it even more difficult when they actually get to something where they're actually playing with chronology, and it's like, well, now we don't know if this is just your sloppy way of telling stories, or if we're really meant to be, playing around with that,
Yeah.
We also are introduced to the concept that there are two different kinds of aliens. You have aliens that are, true aliens, and then you have the idea that aliens can interbreed with humans and they have human hybrids.
Yeah.
Which, as we're going to find out later, is true of Ben and Gwen. And I guess we're going to assume Kevin, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin's dad was definitely an alien.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah.
I know the original series said something about him being a mutant, but I'm pretty sure that was from Kevin's perspective.
Sure.
Yeah, this show has kind of a mix of retcons and stuff that kind of seem like retcons, but technically are just revealing more information.
Sure.
Yeah, so we've got then technically episode 3, but we're just going to say it's the next episode rather than calling it episode 3. Mm-hmm. Everybody's talking about the weather. This one continues the kind of the background, main story throughout the first of this season, and also through season 2 as well.
Yep.
And that being an invasion of aliens called DNA aliens, and their masters that are called hybrid.
Oh yeah, by the way, these aliens, that's the first thing you see in the very first episode.
Yeah, DNA alien.
And the first thing I said to Netter is, oh great, we start this new series with vagina heads.
Yeah, that's what they look like.
I mean, they do kind of look like facehuggers from Alien,
a little
or
bit,
not the DNA aliens themselves, but the xenocytes that attach to people.
Yeah. But I just needed to comment on that.
Yeah. Considering they have brains, I suppose we'll just call them brain-ginas.
Brain-ginas. Oh, I like that. That's so bizarre.
Yeah. So the first thing we see is the a DNA alien attack Ben. So I'm assuming the DNA alien was already there, and it was actually going after Grandpa Max.
Right.
And Ben obviously saw it, so it decided to attack him as well. Obviously, Grandpa Max wasn't in the RV, or the rust bucket too, I should say.
This episode also introduced, I think it starts here. I don't think it started in the previous episodes. We get this beginning of or at least an indication of a relationship between Gwen and Kevin. And Kevin,
that was hinted at some point in the.
Was it?
Yeah, it was hinted a little bit in the.
And it
episode.
Seems to start with, as I recall, it starts with him saying a line, follow me or something like that, and he's like, I'll follow you anywhere. And it's
And
like,
then they immediately go into a ditch and he says, except there.
and it's like,
Yeah, that's in the first episode.
and it's like, that's out of nowhere, you know?
Well, just like when Ben was playing the soccer game and he starts talking to the girl while he's taking his bike out of the rack.
Julie, yeah.
And it's like they have a brief conversation and then she's never mentioned again in that episode. It's like, what was the point of that conversation?
Well, but at least they do eventually get back to her. But this is what I'm saying. It's these jarring kinds of things. Like, there is no way, you know, I don't know. It was just from way out in left field. Didn't make a lot of sense. But it does develop nicely. So, you know.
Yeah, and a later show will kind of give a little bit more context for that.
Oh, okay.
Once again, gonna have to wait until we get there for that.
Yep.
There seems to be a running theme in this show, or this series overall. Yeah, so this episode gives us, or shows us one of the first plumber's kids that we will meet in this first season. That being Alan here, who is half Pyronite, which I feel like that would be uncomfortable considering his father was more, because like his mother was human, so his father must have been a Pyronite.
Right.
Which I feel like that would have been uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that mean that his father had the hots for his mother?
I guess so.
I should have expected lame puns.
Right?
Yeah, and we also get a little bit of a continuation of the what the show will be calling the hybrid conspiracy. So the first part is the obviously the previous episode they had a ship that they were piloting, and Ben, Gwen, and Kevin kind of infiltrated and took that down before it could do anything.
Yeah.
And obviously Ben fought the hybrid commander that was there.
Now, I don't know if it happened in this episode or in a later episode, but there is conversation with Kevin where Kevin. Oh no! Wait a minute. It's the one with Gwen's brother. That one hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that one's later.
Okay.
We'll I'm sure you caught on to the specific way the hybrid act. They view everyone who's not their race as beneath them,
right?
And as an infestation. I don't know if they refer to them specifically like that. That's roughly how they view the rest of the universe.
There was an exchange where he referred to them as lower life forms, and Kevin is like, "Did you call us a lower life form?"
Yeah.
And Gwen is like, "Look, even if it's true, it's kind of rude."
Yeah, and so this episode they have the primary plot of the hybrid, or sending their DNA aliens to create this weather tower, because DNA aliens and the hybrid live in a cold environment and they prefer it to be very cold. This is a kind of preparation for an invasion.
Right, which does, I'm glad they established that, because when we have them trying to change weather later on, it's like, oh, okay, it looks like we're starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, gee, we can't think of anything else. Maybe they're changing the weather again because mess with the world kind of thing.
We also see when they're actually looking at the crop circles, they notice that they kind of look like circuit boards.
Yeah, I thought that was actually kind of clever. That may not always be the case with crop circles, but a way of explaining the purpose for crop circles was kind of neat.
Yeah, and we also have this is like a first example that Ben has a photographic memory, because when he's flying above and he sees it, he then draws not an exact image of what the crop circles look like, but a very close approximation of what they look like.
Yeah.
And we also have the half Pyronite Alan. When he's hiding, he's still in his like fiery form. And I'm just thinking, I would have turned the fire off while trying to hide.
I did like
I said
that.
the same thing.
I did like that Ben actually comments on that later. And he's like, I can't hide with you. You glow. You know?
Yeah.
Right, because the first time he tried to hide, he was underneath the truck.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, turn off your flames and they won't see you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And also the DNA aliens he's used as machine. They kind of look like oh, what are they? They don't look like ray blasters. They look more like metal detectors, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But considering it's alien tech, I suppose we can kind of ignore that detail.
Sure.
Yeah, and they use these to create the metal pathways, and also they shoot directly at the everyone to turn them to not stone, some kind of ice material because it's cold.
Yeah.
Because when they try and do the same to Alan, it doesn't work because he's on fire.
And Netter even we had a debate about that because she's like turning everyone to stone. I'm like, it's not stone, it's ice. But it was really a quirk of the animation that made it look like it was stone because honestly, every story point was it was ice. You know, they could be melted, they were in suspended animation. The hot guy couldn't be turned, you know, it was ice.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's carbonite or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think pretty sure it's the same color.
Good point.
Actually, that might have been a reference to Star Wars now I think about it.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, especially the whole, you know, suspended animation thing. Sure.
And I don't remember if it was this episode or a different one where Ben turns into an alien, gets shot with something, and goes, "Oh, that tickles."
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been in a later episode.
Okay.
Because obviously with one of the new aliens he's using, swamp fire can, well, any energy blast just go right through him.
Yep.
And in the first episode, he gets his arm cut off, and then it just like reattaches itself.
That was cool.
Okay. And next episode, Kevin's Big Score. Which for this one we have Kevin continuing to act kind of shifty and making deals behind closed doors. Although we do later learn that he isn't doing this simply to get profit. He is actually trying to get something for Ben and Gwen.
Yeah, but in this one, he gets or sells. Well, actually, gets the rust bucket taken from him, and then there's no resolution on whether or not he gets the stuff back and rebuilds the rust bucket.
Oh yeah, because the rust bucket gets all its alien tech stripped out of it.
It had everything stripped out of it.
I don't know if they did. I think that's another thing that's just sort of forgotten about, or maybe we're just left to assume that it did get all the stuff back or replaced.
Yeah, but that's a plot point that just kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
Because even Ben goes, "You took Grandpa's home. Where's he supposed to live when he gets back?"
Yeah. So we have the introduction of one of Kevin's friends, that being Arjit here, who's not exactly the best of friends.
No.
And we also get the return of Volcanus from the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we have Gwen acting as like some kind of mediator between Kevin and Ben.
We also are the fact that Kevin can be so immature definitely highlights how much Ben has grown. Actually, there's a better episode to talk about that later on, but we definitely see it in increments throughout the series.
We also get, I'm pretty sure this is the first time this is mentioned, this material right here that Kevin's absorbed.
Yep.
It's called tadenite. Now, despite the fact that it looks like Diamond Head, it's not the same material.
Exactly.
Diamond Head and his entire species are made of diamond.
Right.
I think it's just a quirk of the animation.
And I do think it's interesting that it does introduce the concept that since he can become any element, if he can do that and grow these spikes and break them off, and they remain after he goes back to normal, he could make any material he wants at any time and make tons of money for himself.
Yeah, well, especially since tadenite is a form of currency.
What confused me is that he started absorbing it, and then he said, "I can't stop absorbing," and he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the icky bad guy was like, "You know, that was my intention.
Yeah,
I'm gonna live off you forever."
Yeah, that's another thing that's just sort of forgotten.
Random.
Maybe that's a quirk of Kevin's power, or maybe it's something to do with the piece of tadenite that Volcanus has there.
Anyway, I suspect this is going to be a missed opportunity because it's something that Kevin can do that they're probably going to forget about later. Because, I mean, especially considering one of his biggest primary purposes is to make money. It's like, hi, how can I turn this to my own advantage? You know?
Yeah. And of course, we have. Oh, yeah.
When they're fighting the boss, he gets like shrunk down to this little tiny guy.
Yeah, that's because that's what he actually looks like. He's wearing a robotic suit.
Okay, I didn't get that from that, but okay.
Yeah, because when Ben ruined one of his hands, there was like cables and oil coming out of the broken part of his hand.
Oh, right.
And then when Ben froze his entire body and it all broke into pieces, then how his actual form came out of all the pieces.
Okay, yeah, I thought something Ben did to him, like shrunk him down to a toddler size.
I'm pretty sure I was about to say Ghost Freak. Big Chill doesn't have that power. As you'll notice, Big Chill kind of has some similarities to Ghost Freak by the fact that he can phase through objects. Although Big Chill has the addition of shooting frost breath and freezing stuff.
I think that's the newest alien that he has that I like the best so far.
Yeah.
Because the first time he phased, it was like, he can phase.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he can even turn invisible. Kind of just like how Ghost Freak can kind of fade and turn invisible. So, next episode, All That Glitters. And this is where we get another one of the plumber's helpers.
Yeah, we also get another instance of Gwen kind of losing all of her brain power and running totally on her ovaries. Because it's like, I just forget everything because a guy that I like, you know?
I think it might also be because Michael does have somewhat of some kind of hold over her or something, similar to all the other girls that we see. Weirdly enough, they're described as being zombie girls, but they don't quite look like zombies.
Yeah.
Obviously there's something like some kind of. Obviously, Michael has some kind of an effect over them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of. They even referred to it. They kind of referenced vampirism. And clearly that's part of what's going on here. I likened it to the way they handle vampirism in Vampire the Masquerade, where you get a little bit of taste of it, and you become addicted, and you're willing to keep going back and getting drained because you know, because of an addiction. I thought that was very interestingly handled. I originally attributed it to, you know, the clunkiness of their writing, how, you know, as an audience, we automatically are not, we're already suspecting this kid just because he's a plumber's kid, you know, just because he's got these powers, just because he seems to be helpful and good looking, doesn't mean he's trustworthy. And then I realized he's voiced by Will Wheaton. Of course I didn't like him.
Well, what was interesting is that, yeah, you seem to be suspicious of him, but it's like, why? Like, how is he doing this? And I pointed out the tattoos or whatever they were on the girl's arms. And it's like, okay, how are these tattoos affecting the girls? What is it with that?
Yeah, I think he's draining energy from them.
Yeah, it wasn't until I saw the mark on his hand and then he touched Gwen. It's like, aha, so he is behind it.
Also, when you're named Michael Morningstar, anybody who knows anything about religion is going to be like, maybe
Lucifer,
maybe somebody not to trust.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because his name is Michael Morningstar. I was like,
right.
I'm pretty sure that's Satan's name. Maybe not the Michael part, but the Morningstar definitely is.
Specifically Lucifer, Lucifer Morningstar,
Although that is kind of confusing, because sometimes Lucifer and Satan are referenced as different people, and then other times the same person.
Yeah, that's I could spend some serious amount of time explaining that apparent dichotomy. But yeah.
And we also have maybe the show writers specifically, because obviously he's pretending to be on their side,
right?
And obviously with something we learn about Gwen later on, probably goes into the fact that when Michael like absorbed some energy from Gwen, it made him more powerful. As opposed to him, she's probably like some kind of really powerful battery or something.
Exactly. Well, see, again, I draw correlations to the various other superhero, you know, genres and whatnot. Soon as I saw what he was doing, I'm like, okay, this is like Parasite from DC Comics.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly I was thinking True Blood. Sookie was actually a fairy, which you don't find out until
a great
years
example,
and years later. And when the vampires bit her, it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And so I likened it to that, where it's like, oh, this gives me more power. This makes me feel really, really good. I have to have more of this.
Yeah. I did not know that. That's mostly because I haven't watched any of True Blood.
Oh, we stopped watching after a couple seasons because it got stupid.
You'd be better off reading the books if you have any interest at all. But
okay. Are there the same amount of books as there are seasons of the show?
Pretty close. And the show does a better job of kind of following the books, except it does kind of fall into the same trap as so many others. It starts to veer off on its own, and then the accumulation of differences, you know, kind of mount up.
Okay. Yeah, we also have that once Michael has enough power, his skin and hair turn golden.
Yeah. Interestingly, his absorption is not like Kevin's, where it's, you know, I absorb and then put it out in the same way. It's like he's a capacitor, and he's, you know, sucking the energy, any energy out of other people to power his own ability, which manifests as this light ability.
Yeah.
Actually,
and shooting beams, energy beams as well.
I think he's taking the energy more like a drug. You know, like if somebody's taking, you know, cocaine or something, once their high starts going down, they need more.
Yeah.
For him, he's getting all this energy, and after it starts waning a little bit, he wants more.
Yeah.
And so he keeps getting it from these girls and draining them.
And not to mention, you know, I mean, and this isn't this is a pretty obvious thing. Power is like a drug, right? Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So
yeah, that is kind of like Michael having a slightly different kind of absorption power is kind of a parallel with Kevin.
Yep.
And it's not the only parallel that Michael and Kevin have. There's also the fact that Kevin obviously likes Gwen, and Gwen does like Kevin, but he's just not like doing anything about that. But while Michael comes in and just immediately like sweeps Gwen off her feet, well, maybe not exactly like that, but obviously Michael is like more proactive about that.
Yeah.
I think that is meant to be like somewhat of a lesson to Kevin.
What I thought was interesting is when, after he had gotten all the power from Gwen and was kind of like shriveling her up into nothing, and then the girls started attacking him. Oh, wait, actually, Gwen got her power back first by touching him and taking her power back. And then the girls started attacking him, and they got their energy back because they drained him. I thought that was great.
I really did see that as a very inoffensive girl power moment. You know, it's like you're not going to take advantage of us anymore. You know, we're taking back our chi or whatever, and it's like, you know what? I'm okay with that. That's not in your face, and it's appropriate. I dig that.
Yeah. And also Kevin walks over and takes Michael's plumber's badge off of him and crushes it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't deserve this.
Yeah. Which we'll learn later on, being or having a plumber's badge and like everything to do with the plumbers is actually very important to Kevin.
Yep.
We get hints of the fact that the plumbers and everything is important to him, but we'll get a lot more information about that later on.
Sure.
Okay, next episode, Max Out. Here we circle back around to the hybrid conspiracy.
Yep.
Where this time Max is actually, rather than them just mentioning Grandpa Max, he's actually involved in this one.
Yep. And this was the one that, at least to begin with, Netter had a little bit of difficulty because of the duality of when things are taking place for Max as opposed to other people.
Yeah. So Grandpa Max is slightly ahead of them in terms, like, events with Max are happening first, and then when Ben and Kevin are their events happening slightly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a sad episode.
Yep. See, Grandpa Max the very first thing we see is Grandpa Max walk into a diner, and then the person behind the diner ends up being a DNA alien wearing an ID mask.
Yeah, she wasn't very pretty.
Yeah, this is the episode that I was talking about because it's the introduction of Gwen's brother Ken, and of course Kevin has to take this opportunity. Wait, your name is Gwen, his name is Ken. You know what did he say? What are your parents' names? Jen and Sven. You hear what I'm talking about, Ben? And and this is another example of Ben just being a little bit more mature, because his response is, yes, our names rhyme, and you notice, congratulations, you know. Although he absolutely could have come back and said, yes, I did notice, Kevin Levin.
Yeah,
but it's very on the nose, very self-referential, you know, and a little bit meta.
I even said something like that later, where I'm like, wait, his name is Kevin Levin?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we also have these, where is an image of them? Yeah, we have the DNA aliens, like, putting xenocytes into trucks, which I'm pretty sure xenocytes means was that something like foreign parasite or something? Because I know xeno means other or foreign or something like that.
Yeah, site I think just means like living off of or something like that.
Yeah, and xenocytes are kind of very parasite-like, because they like grab onto a person and then start warping their mind and transforming them into a DNA alien.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we also have the fact that the xenocytes kind of look like a combination of a head crab and a face hugger.
Yes, I do definitely see that.
They're probably more so head crab than face hugger. And of course, this is also an episode where Ben uses the Omnitrix to cure Ken of like the xenocyte, because after one has been put on his head.
It's like, I like that Omnitrix talks to him and says, something like something isn't wrong here. Do you want me to fix it?
DNA, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing that they showed Ben using the Omnitrix to cure someone of the xenocyte before, like this early on, because obviously the hybrids are considered to be like actual alien species, while the xenocytes and the DNA aliens, they're not necessarily like full alien beings, but rather genetically engineered parasites.
Right.
So every DNA alien you see, that's more than likely a human who's been mutated.
Oh, that's a shame.
And I'm pretty sure the way the DNA aliens look when they're wearing ID masks is probably how they looked as a human. I think the voice is the same as well.
Makes sense.
Because even one of the DNA aliens says something about it's a side effect, nothing we could do about it.
Oh yeah, that's the hybrid that says that to Grandpa Max, I believe.
Oh right.
And also we have Grandpa Max when he's actually there fighting off the DNA aliens and the hybrid commander. He's using a null void projector. Mm-hmm. It's clearly not the same projector from the original show because it looks different.
Oh yeah.
That's clearly a different projector, but he takes off the focusing lens to turn it into somewhat of a grenade. He calls it like I think a rough approximation of a grenade, because it has a very similar effect.
And then, of course, as he's going to be using it, he has time for this in-depth conversation with the children.
Honestly, that's the biggest problem with stuff like this. If you have time to give a soliloquy before sacrificing yourself, you didn't really need to sacrifice yourself. And all that seems to tell people is, I really just am looking for an excuse to kill myself. I've got a death wish.
Yeah.
See, now, I'm pretty sure. I have a theory that Grandpa Max isn't really dead. That either he got sucked into another universe or something, and he's not really dead. He'll come back later.
It makes sense that he's probably in the null void, but what it comes down to is and this isn't the first time we've seen this with Grandpa Max. It's like he quickly wants to go to the self-sacrifice thing. He's got this I'm getting too old for this shit kind of concept, and I want to go out a hero, so I want to die, doing this. And it's like, okay, this is dumb. Okay.
Yeah. I think the fact that that he actually is holding, I think it's the fact that he has to actually hold the button down for the null void projector, because for it to actually work.
Yeah.
I think they don't really say anything about that, but I think that's why he is still there and sacrifice himself rather than press the button and then leave or something like that. now we have next episode, peer pressure.
Now, I got to say this. Okay, so here we bring back Julie, okay, which we mentioned earlier. So we do get, a return of the character. She wasn't just, forgotten.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of the most adorable character moments, in my opinion. He's trying to, and this was something I had to explain to Nanette, because he's like, well, why doesn't he just turn into an alien, or go hero? And I'm like, secret identity, right? He can't give himself away. It's the whole. Again, I want to draw the comparison to Peter Parker. But he does you get a lot of these very contrived, I'm trying to ditch you so that I could be a superhero, but I don't want to ditch you kind of thing. So he comes back after having been gone for so long, and there's this great moment where she, in a very melancholy sort of way, I thought she ditched me. And he's like, I would never, ever do that, and that's the kind of thing that you never get that kind of resolution from like Peter Parker, all the other superheroes that always have to be like, yeah, I come off as a jerk because I got to protect everybody and blah, 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 blah. This is Ben going, I know that's what it looked like, but I wouldn't do that. Just never, never, never.
Well, the other thing that got me is, in the cartoon series that came previously, everyone knew Ben could turn into these aliens, including the two bullies that always bugged him.
But again, that was the confusion of the fact that these were alternate timelines and alternate futures.
Yeah, it's like, and now no one knows.
Yeah, it's very difficult to keep these things straight. Look, I love the idea that they do alternate timelines, but they never make it clear when that's happening. Yeah. And that makes it very, very difficult to follow.
Yeah. I did write in my notes that it would be easier if Ben just told Julie about the Omnitrix.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Well, there eventually gets to be a point, and you would think that they'd be at this point where it's like, why the hell are we still trying to keep these things secret from the world? Most people that we encounter know. We might as well, even, I mean, and this isn't even alternate, stuff. This is, everyone is noticing the aliens and the events in the news all the time. And nobody's coming along with a little flashy thing to make everybody forget. So it really is getting to be about time that he's like, you know what? Whatever. Yeah. But I and again, I shouldn't have to try and, come up with an explanation for the writers, but it does seem that maybe he's still trying to somehow maintain a little bit of a regular life,
Yeah.
The thing is, he does tell Julie, he does tell her that, he's the alien. She thinks it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, what got me is you got that little wormy creature, which I can't remember what it was called.
Galvanic Mechamorph.
Yeah.
Although its name is Ship.
As a pet. Yeah, Ship. And then he goes chasing after this truck, and it's like, so much for, what's it?
Bonding. Yeah.
And there's like no resolution for that. Does he come back?
Yeah, that was probably one of the weirdest endings of an episode I've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought he was going after the truck to bring the truck back so they didn't have to walk anymore.
Yeah.
Because dogs run after vehicles. Yeah, we get the joke.
Yeah, because obviously Ben and Julie were like waiting for a truck to stop to pick them up.
Yeah,
and I think Ship kind of, to some extent, knew that, and instead of just walking with them, it kind of ran after the truck itself, maybe to merge with it and bring it back or something.
That's what I was thinking, but it never came back. And it just kind of ended.
And at that rate, it was never going to catch up to the truck, so...
Yeah. And we also have the other part of the episode with the actual pure galvanic mechamorph itself. Basil, I think his name was. I did enjoy his like interactions with Ben and Julie. He was definitely an entertaining character while he was there. I also like the joke of when he's trying to when he's talking to him and they're like, then it just ends up becoming like a difficult and awkward conversation, and he just says to himself, "This is why aliens only talk to your not wildlife,
your livestock,
cattle, I think. Yeah, livestock," which I find funny as a little joke about aliens talking to cows and everything.
One little bit of trivia that I find kind of interesting: the voice actor for Julie is the same voice actor that did Ship.
Okay, I never noticed that.
Yep.
And we also have Ben using probably, well, it's kind of difficult to choose, but that is not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, he turns into Jetro, which is not my like specific favorite, but it's kind of hard to choose between between some of these aliens. Because I also really like Goop here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I also like Alien X as well, but there are some issues with using that particular alien.
Yeah, I'm like, we're bad on that one.
Did get
that one again.
Did get the distinct impression that Julie was very open to what was going on around her and not reacting as you would normally expect somebody to.
Yeah.
You know, she was actually more keyed into what was going on in some ways than Ben was.
Yeah.
Which actually for a while had me going, maybe, you know, one of her parents is a plumber, or maybe she's got some kind of background. But
yeah, it also helps that Julie does actually like Ben.
Yeah. True. Established in the first episode where she was like trying to talk to him and whatnot.
Okay, so now we're on the next episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of, which is roughly the same title as the Star Trek The Original Series episode.
Yeah.
First season, I believe.
Yep. Which of course is a reference to the nursery rhyme. What are little girls made of? Ginger and spice and everything nice. That's what little girls are made of.
Sugar and spice. You said ginger and spice.
And Element
Oh,
X.
I'm probably thinking that because, you know, redhead. But yeah.
And specific little girls are made of Element X as well.
Yes, I suppose so.
Okay, so this episode is where we learn that both Gwen and Ben are technically part alien. I think it's one quarter.
Now, one of the things that had me going here was it became very clear that Verdona and Gwen had the same abilities.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you, I started thinking it is entirely possible that Gwen and Ben have different grandmothers, you know, but it's definitely
they have the same grandmother.
I know it's definitely implied, and they certainly make the assumption that they have the same
a later episode of one of the other shows will like firmly establish that Ben has the same grandmother as Gwen.
Okay. By the way, I just got to say, Grandma's a bitch. She is not someone I like. Verdona.
Well, it's a good thing she doesn't appear in this show very often.
Yeah, it's like, what was her deal?
Although I do have to say, interesting choice of voice actresses. When she's in her human form, she's voiced by Barbara Bain. Barbara Bain, you may remember, well, you may not, way before your time.
You young and you.
The TV series 1999 or Space 1999.
Yeah, no, I've not seen that show.
Beautiful actress. And then when Verdona takes on her younger elemental form,
her true form,
voiced by Juliet Landau, which is Barbara Bain's daughter.
And I'm pretty sure
the daughter of Martin Landau.
Right, yeah. Martin Landau, yeah.
And Gwen's mother is also voiced by Drusilla from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't remember the actual actress's name.
Oh, Drew!
Right. Yeah.
Although I looked up on IMDb, apparently Verdona's Anodite form is also voiced by Drusilla, but I don't know if that's actually accurate or if that's just IMDb screwing up.
Yeah, no, at least in this episode, it was Juliet Landau, which is, of course, Barbara's daughter, which I thought was really a clever voice acting choice there.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a bit of trivia. Yeah. Both Barbara Bain and Martin Landau ended up being blacklisted in Hollywood because of her politics.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's back then it was
they were on Mission Impossible together and she screwed up everything.
That's right. They were also on Mission Impossible. That's right.
Yeah, and we also have what is could potentially be considered a retcon. It depends on the way you look at it. I view it more of revealing more information about something, and that Gwen is 1/4 Anodite, and that's probably not the exact reason why she can do magic. I think it depends more on how much you know about Anodites and how they actually work. Because obviously the original series established that Gwen was learning magic from Charmcaster's magic book.
But they also had established that not just anyone can do magic. She had some magical ability she was tapping into.
Yeah, she did have some potential in it. And obviously now we're aware that it's because of the Anodite genes in her. Because Anodites... they aren't necessarily I think in the episode they refer to them as powers, but it's more a case of Anodites have a stronger connection to magic. Because as Verdona explained, she draws mana from everything around her.
Yeah.
I suppose similar to a different energy force that surrounds the universe.
The Force, or Chi.
I suppose any of them would work.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I thought was interesting. She was leaving flowers at the tree that had her and Max's name carved into it. Was she leaving the flowers there because she knew he was dead?
Yeah, she mentioned that. In the episode, Verdona mentioned that she came back because she heard news of Max's fate.
Okay. I don't remember that, so okay.
Yeah, it's while they were sitting around the table.
And apparently Gwen's mom does not like mother-in-law because we're hoping she would be more like me.
Well, and let's face it, I could very clearly see reason not to like her. That's doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Also, interesting, for all the things that I could pick on them about not explaining and not covering very clearly, they do have this tendency to go back to previous references. Grandma references Shag Carpet again, the band, the fictional
and she's playing
band.
some of the music as well,
right?
She created the disco ball, and I don't know where the music's coming from, but she's playing it.
Although this definitely predates it, I couldn't help but kind of see some similarities between this and Guardians of the Galaxy. The whole, Peter Quill's father's, thing.
The second Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, right.
With his father being Ego the Living Planet.
Right.
Except they don't call him that in the film, they just call him Ego.
Right.
Another instance of Marvel making alterations.
Well, just leaving something off. I mean, in your head canon, he can still be the Living Planet. They just, don't depict him.
I mean,
that way.
That's one of the weird things, because he still is the Living Planet in the movie, but they just don't call him that.
Right.
That's what I don't get.
Well, because I think that's more of a description than a name, right? I mean, it would be kind of weird to, that's like, referring to someone as Varney the vampire. The vampire isn't his name. It's just a description of the fact that Varney happens to be a vampire,
Yeah. Well, that's a minor thing about the MCU that bugs me.
No, I get that.
There are a whole bunch of other things about the MCU that really bug me, but like doesn't completely take away from my enjoyment of the films.
Yeah. Well, those things are starting to mount more and more. I've kind of completely walked away from it because of that.
Yeah, I stopped watching the MCU about what was it? I didn't watch Captain Marvel. I think it might have been Endgame or before Endgame, one of those two.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember which part it was. I know it was somewhere around there that I just stopped watching them. Okay. Oh yeah, one other detail that I noticed. Gwen's father is voiced by George Newbern, who voices Superman on Justice League the animated series.
Oh, okay.
Coolness.
Yes, as soon as he started talking, I was like, hang on, I know that voice. So I looked it up and found that it was George Newbern.
Oh, neat.
Actually, now I think about it, this show also has Batman in it. I mean, not literally Batman, but...
Right.
I'm Batman.
Except not in this episode, a later episode. Okay, now we have the next episode, The Gauntlet. Now, I don't think the name of the robot that Ben, Gwen, and Kevin are fighting at the beginning, I don't think that we ever hear its name or what it is. Obviously, I think a later season we will actually get a name for the thing.
And this was another episode where Ben really shows some maturity over the
bullies.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Cash and JT.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? But there was a missed opportunity for a line there. He's like, we've all grown up. And instead of saying you haven't, he says something else.
Yeah.
But it's like basically they should grow up.
Yeah.
It's like stop acting
and
like
I'll
children.
tell you, I mean, and we even get it from his interaction with Gwen and Kevin later on. Honestly, I'm not sure I would have had the wherewithal not to kick the snot out of those two.
Yeah. Of course, because I typed in Gauntlet, of course there's an image of Thanos, or some kind of like fan art of
exactly.
Thanos.
Yeah, that whole Infinity Gauntlet kind of thing definitely seemed to, yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that too.
Oh, there's another one, but that's not related to Alien Force. Yeah, so we have this. So the arm of the robot that they're fighting gets sliced off, and then Ben turns into goop and kind of goes inside the thing and makes it explode from the inside out.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely like goop, because he even has the this little, I suppose we'll call it a mini satellite or a mini UFO thing, like controlling him and keeping him straight, or keeping him like standing up and everything. Because without that, he'll just be a blob on the floor. Similar to Gloop from the Secrets of the Omnitrix movie.
Mm-hmm.
Although, as far as I'm aware, they are not the same species. Yeah, so, then Cash and JT take this gauntlet from Kevin's car after they trash it. And they get the obviously this robot does have some kind of self-awareness because it's like repairing itself and growing over
Right.
Cash. I don't know why, but I get confused between Cash and JT.
I get the impression that this based on the way the story resolves, that this tech is not, I don't want to say semi-sentient, but it definitely responds to its users like subconscious needs and desires. I feel like it's forming this suit of armor to give the character power because that's what he craves.
Yeah, I think it's obviously this robot because it's programmed, whatever its like specific mission it's programmed to do, it then carries that out and does whatever it can to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it would be growing over someone to then give itself a new body to then continue to do it, like complete its mission.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that when it's not really consumed anyone like that much,
Mm-hmm.
when it's only still just a glove on someone's hand, it's still like really difficult to pull it off of them. Because every time someone tries pulling the glove off, they like, it's not just like really simple, they do have to like really force it off their hand. So I think as soon as it goes on someone's hand, it then tries to start like attaching itself to them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a symbiote. Yeah, we do actually learn what this robot, what it's called and everything like that. It's because I think it's season 3 where we actually learn what it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't quite remember. I know later episodes of the show, and then also the later show itself, they'll just be referring to the robot by its actual name rather than not having any idea what it is. Yeah, the thing's called Tekadon. Or is that the name of the planet it's from? One of those. Oh, we also have another little detail that something that I already knew is that Chromastone here is from the same planet as Diamond Head. But the reason he's able to turn into this character rather than Diamond Head is because they're maybe from the same planet, but they're not the same species. Because Chromastone here is called a crystal sapien. In fact, he's a unique life form from Petrosapi. Yeah, that's why they're separate transformations. I think there's actually a few of Ben's transformations that are from the same planet, but are like different enough that they can be classified as separate aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for this particular alien that Ben's into, that you got on the screen right now, I figured he'd be able to shoot those crystal things out, and he doesn't.
No.
That's because he has different powers from Diamond Head.
Yeah.
Because Diamond Head shoots diamonds and can also grow them out of the ground. But Chromastone, his powers are to absorb energy and then fire it back out again. That's why when Cash here like fires a laser blast at him, it doesn't actually do anything. It just sort of, the first shot kind of bounces and then hits something behind him, and then the next couple of shots he fires, Chromastone absorbs them. Because then he has like a rainbow glow around him when he's absorbed some energy. Yeah, obviously, it's not like Kevin's absorption. He has to actually be hit by an energy blast to absorb it.
I think that's when he said, "Oh, that tickles."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because Chromastone, like Diamond Head, is invulnerable. Although weirdly enough, Diamond Head could still be like damaged. So I don't know what kind of invulnerable they're exactly working with. You'll also notice, I would imagine at this point, that the Omnitrix is actually on the chest of every alien that Ben turns into.
I do like that there's a little bit more consistency there.
Yeah. That is also another credit to the fact that the Omnitrix is working properly. Also, the fact that when Ben turns into an alien, he turns into the exact alien he chose,
Yeah.
rather than the wrong alien. Although for some reason that did still happen, because in the episode Peer Pressure, when Ben was about to turn into Jet Ray, then the pier itself shakes, and then he for some reason the dial on the alien changes from Jet Ray to Brainstorm.
Yeah, that
And then he
does seem to be more from an outside thing than the Omnitrix itself. Like the dial accidentally turned or whatever.
Yeah. Although when I watched it, I didn't actually see the dial turn. I just saw the hologram change, fade for a moment, and then come back as a different alien. I don't know if the dial actually did turn, but I think that's the only instance of Ben choosing the wrong alien, but not because the Omnitrix turns him into a different alien.
He also seemed to have like a concussion, and they didn't really address that. And he had the Omnitrix already primed. All he had to do was push it in.
Oh, that was
that he was jostled. I'm surprised it didn't get pushed in.
Actually, that's from the a later episode, Plumber's Helpers, because a bunch of rocks land on his head and he gets knocked out.
That was the same one.
Hey Matthew, Melissa Harris has a question. She's asking if Max was married or divorced.
I'm not completely sure if he was ever married.
Yeah,
I would assume he probably did marry Verdona, because she knew about him being a plumber. Although she does mention that he didn't know she was aware of that.
Also, there was the whole he had another alien that he was romantically involved with, who was the one that brought the Omnitrix to Earth.
Yeah, Xylene. Although I'm pretty sure that's not necessarily a case of him being married to her, or maybe I think that's more of a case of.
I was gonna use that as a possible indication that he's just pretty much a James Bondy kind of guy, where he's not been married, but he has, had relations.
Yeah. And that could also have the two separate grandmothers for Ben and Gwen.
That's what I was thinking too. That could have that had me thinking that maybe Ben didn't have the same grandmother, but I guess that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a case that he was married to Verdona, or because obviously I would imagine he probably was, because he obviously had kids with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming he was probably married to her, and then either she left, because obviously she's definitely been shown to be the kind of person that just sort of leaves for long periods of time.
Yes.
So I'm assuming what happened is after she left at some point, I'm assuming Max then met a different alien or someone else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a reason why I'd want some kind of spin-off with Grandpa Max when he was younger and was a plumber. That's definitely a show I would watch. Okay, next episode. Here's an interesting one. The episode Paradox. Which introduces the character of Professor Paradox.
David McCallum.
Yes, voiced by David McCallum. I recognized it immediately when I heard his voice.
I only know about him from NCIS.
And Man from Uncle.
And Man from Uncle too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. I never saw that, but I did see episodes of NCIS, and he was in that a lot.
Yeah.
Most of the early seasons. I don't think he's in any of the newer seasons.
He's on occasionally. He's supposed to be like the historian for NCIS.
Right. Which I kind of speculated that maybe he's trying to retire. Maybe he may have some health issues. So he's trying to pull back from the show a bit.
He's in his 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe early 80s.
Yeah. Okay, I'm curious. I want to hear what you have to say about this episode.
Okay. Obviously, first thing I'm going to point out is, First thing I'm going to point out is, when I saw the device being created, the
the
The time tunnel. The
Yeah.
time tunnel. I would. That was my first thought. It was I felt like it was a reference to the TV show, The Time Tunnel. I don't think it necessarily was, but if they actually used the term time tunnel, it had to be. I did speculate that this was the same device as seen in the live action film.
Oh, you mean the Hands of Armageddon?
Yeah, exactly. Probably
no, it's not
not.
the same thing.
Probably not, but it looked very similar to that. I also got a kind of a Dr. Manhattan vibe here. Again,
yeah, I can definitely see that.
Again, I don't think that was necessarily what they were going for, but I definitely, between the fact that it was the naval or the military base and the lost scientist that becomes a superhero type of thing and so on and so forth. But the biggest parallel is clearly numerous references to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He's a doctor whose name is never actually given. Instead of Doctor Who, it's Dr. Paradox.
Or Professor Paradox.
Or Professor Paradox. He does, instead of jelly babies, he offers gumballs. He travels throughout space and time at will and so forth. And he even takes a companion at the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, British accent, which made me think, gosh, David McCullum would have made a great doctor.
I really like his overall personality throughout the episode.
Yep.
Just the way he's acting. Like when he first meets Ben, like turns into Swampfire and like picks him up, and he goes, Swampfire, that takes me back. He's like, I think you mentioned something about like, is it like the first time we meet you? And like,
right.
Was that later?
Just like when he met River Song, and she's like, "Wait, have we met yet?"
Yeah, it was. Yeah, just so many Doctor references, Doctor Who references. I mean, even to the point of when he's giving his story about how he, became who he is, and he said, I was, stuck in this void, on the event horizon for, thousands of years. Yeah, I went insane. But eventually I got bored with that and I became sane again, or I went sane again.
Yeah. And we also have Kevin being turned into an old man. Right. I do find that amusing.
Yes, absolutely. I like something different about you. Something about your hair. Yeah, I'm parting it in the middle. Oh, also, I'm really, really old.
And we also have this thing, which I like it when they first go into this army base, and there's like tracks going all over the floor and leading into different buildings, and also like a phone booth. Like over the course of the episode, they kind of put it together what's going on.
And definitely the confusion of, because Ben keys into something that I'd keyed into much earlier, that this is not a creature behaving like an extra dimensional monster. This is, and I actually just thought it was Professor Paradox in another form or another instance of his own existence. But again, that was partly because I was thinking, Watchmen and Dr. Manhattan when he first comes back and so forth. But that didn't really hold up because Professor Paradox didn't remember being in that situation and so forth.
Yeah.
Did find it very interesting, though, that we do get to, from Professor Paradox's point of view within this episode, we do see alternate futures that he can see, where he fails to stop this, where he fails to figure it out, so on and so forth.
Where's I did see the specific image a minute ago. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this one where they're on the moon in the future.
Yeah.
And then they see. I believe this right here is the version of Professor Paradox that failed to stop it.
Right.
Because he does make mention of the fact that he like failed to stop it, and he's like staying here and lamenting that. And then Professor Paradox had a conversation with himself about how to stop this.
Yeah, exactly. So, also, again, because I was drawing the correlation to the live action film, it got me thinking a little bit about the villain from that. I forget his name.
Eon.
Eon. Yeah, I was wondering if there was going to be a connection there, but I didn't. That there was no payoff for that either.
Yeah, not yet. I believe. Professor Paradox is involved when we next see Eon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Professor Paradox. We will see him a couple times in later episodes. He won't be a proper series regular, but he will be in the show a lot more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because we also have this guy, his assistant Hugo, who ends up being the monster, or whatever we want to call that thing. And it's because he's moving around, and like he's got this like aura around him that's aging everything to dust.
Yes.
Yeah, and Professor Paradox himself is the only one who can actually touch the thing without aging.
Right.
I think he does mention about the fact that he can feel that Eon's going by, but he's not actually aging into dust.
Right, simply because thousands of years for him is not,
Yeah, because I remember he mentions that he exists outside of time.
Right.
So it has no effect on him. Well, I mean, he can still feel it, but it just won't actually physically affect him. I also like that when he first meets them, he does actually ask them if they, because they looked through his file, if they know his name.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
and we never get his name.
He even says something like, "Well, you looked through my file."
Yeah. He will also be voiced by the same actor every time we see him.
Good.
Cool.
That's definitely one of my favorites of this season so far. Okay, next we have Be Knighted. I believe this is the first proper episode involving the Forever Knights, because we saw them before in the first episode, but that episode wasn't actually about them.
Right.
But this time we do actually have an episode focusing on them.
We do get a bit more lore about them. I feel like some retcons, but they do kind of tighten up the lore around them, which I suppose is good.
Yeah. At this point, the Forever Knights have been they're all split into like various factions, rather than like a whole unit of Forever Knights. I suppose you can either interpret the original series as being one specific faction of Forever Knights, and then there's a different one, or maybe after the events of the original series, they then split into factions. I suppose you could go either way with that, I suppose.
One thing I noticed that the squires seem to be drawn a little bit different from the Forever Knights. He just looked more like Sorcerer in the Stone Disney drawing than the Ben 10 drawing we've been used to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just looked out of place.
Yeah. I mean, the Forever Knights themselves, they are like, instead of the original series where they kind of looked more like they were wearing some armor and then like trench coats and a hat and everything, and they had like an actual like faceplate rather than just a closed helmet.
But even like I guess he was the lead Forever Knight, was drawn the way Ben and Gwen were drawn, but the page was not drawn the same way. It just looked really off.
Oh, do you mean what's his name? Connor, I think was his name.
And I kind of look like a Indian tribesman. I don't remember what his name was.
Or do you mean the guy, the king-looking guy that was wearing a crown? We only really saw at the bit early in the episode, and then at the end.
No, the fellow that was talking to him. That was like, he's gone home. There's nothing else for us to do. That fellow.
You mean this guy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he is drawn slightly different because he got like the obviously no helmet. He's also got a cloak, and he's wearing brown gloves.
Right,
he's the only one who's designed like that, with those like additional details.
The page doesn't look anything like these drawings at all.
Yeah,
he looks completely different.
And
yeah,
I also feel, again, this does seem to retcon the reason that they're collecting alien technology. It did just seem to be for nefarious reasons to, power themselves, an evil purpose for it. This seems to be at least a somewhat noble intent, protect the world from the dragon. It's just that because they, are still seeing things through the eyes of, 1,000 years ago, the superstition and whatnot, it's just an evil dragon, not, okay, it's an alien. It's, he
was a map maker.
Yeah. It's, we should let this thing go. They're so bogged down by their traditions and whatnot and their identity, they can't get past it.
Right. It's like,
and the same for the dragon as well.
True. This is all we've known. This can't end because this is all we know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a kind of a case of them being separate factions. Well, I don't know if I suppose you can go with either explanation for that. I suppose we also have the dragon with the a broken universal translator.
Yeah.
And I like that while Ben's fighting it, like the first time before he actually knows what's going on, he does kind of catch on to the fact that the broken universal translator on the dragon, he recognizes it and pulls like a fixed one out of Kevin's car.
What I thought was funny is when it's like, you can talk? Well, why would you think I couldn't talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have like a few observations that Ben kind of notices, like the fact that the dragon's fire breath isn't fire but a laser blast.
Yeah.
Because obviously Chromostone could absorb it and fire it back. He does also notice that the dragon kind of looks like it's trying to tell him something as well.
Right.
I also like that he doesn't let after he figures some of that out, he then confronts Connor and his squire about it, and confronts them that they clearly had knew more about what was going on here than they were actually telling Ben. I'm pretty sure the dragon was also voiced by Clancy Brown as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes, he was. I did catch that.
That's another DC animated universe voice actor. So we've had a Superman and we've had Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a few missing. I don't know if all of them will be in this. Everything you've got to say about this episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I suppose the obvious lesson would be don't judge a book by its cover. It's a fairly standard story for a kid's show to be telling.
The only bad thing is these guys are not going to go to the dragon's planet.
Well, if they imply that, I don't know if they actually could, if they do have the technology to travel there. Well, they more imply that the dragons will come. That more of the dragons will then come to Earth seeking revenge. Okay, only 2 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Plumber's Helpers next. Okay, Plumber's Helpers. Okay, okay, I'll be right back. I need to go to the toilet. I'll let you start talking about this first.
Which episode are we on?
Plumber's Helper.
Plumber's Helpers.
Okay. Right. Plumber's Helpers. So
I like that Professor Geek break.
Here we basically have a whole team of the plumber's children, completely not fully understanding their who they are and what their origin is, kind of misunderstanding what happens to one of their members. We later find out that he's ended up in the void. He's not dead, but they think he's dead.
Right, because they think that the ray is a disintegrator, and it's not.
Right, exactly. Which again was kind of one of the things that got me thinking back to Uncle Max. Well, we didn't see a body, and this is another example of it looks like everything's destroyed, therefore maybe he's not really dead. Does seem to be foreshadowing that possibility with Uncle Max. That we'll find
Grandpa.
out later. Yeah, Grandpa, right? Exactly. We also are seeing that these kids are the same kinds of aliens that Ben has been in the previous series. So it's a throwback to those aliens too.
Exactly. And at least the female is willing to listen
Yeah.
to Ben, but the forearms guy is like, no, they're all bad. We have to take them down. Da da da. It's like
it is a little bit stereotypical, and they do keep coming back to this theme. We'll get to that with the last episode of the season. This whole idea of the rational female and the irrational male, but
Yeah, because these two Plumber's Helpers, they're Helen and Manny. And Manny is actually voiced by Cyborg from the Teen Titans cartoon.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember his name, but his voice is very recognizable, especially since I watched that show when I was younger. And because obviously they're only like half alien. I think obviously Manny's half Tetraman, and then Helen is half. Actually, I don't remember what the name of the species is called. I think it's something like kinetic or accelerate or excel or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We also have they have the whole of an early model null void projector, which it's you kind of get the idea that it's like an older version because it's much larger and much bulkier than the projectors that we've seen before. Because ones we've seen before are handheld, while this one's like an actual big thing that's mounted on something.
And they think it's something that disintegrates.
Yeah, they think it's like a disintegration machine.
And Ben even
obviously because
says
they've never
it's
actually
not.
been because they've never actually seen anyone come back out of it, so all they know is that a person or an alien goes into it and then that's just it.
Now here's the thing. Both the male and female alien go into at the end to get everyone they put in there out that shouldn't be in there. But there's no explanation about how they're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, but again, I would argue that everyone that goes into the null void somehow magically seems to be able to get out in between episodes. So,
or in between seasons.
Yeah.
And we also have when they try and throw Ben into the null void projector. After they think he's been disintegrated, he turns into swamp fire and climbs back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of shows them that it's actually not a disintegration machine, but goes to a different dimension instead.
It's like what I was trying to tell y'all.
Yeah. Although one thing that I noticed, when Ben's actually like been thrown into the portal, that must have had like some strong force because it was sucking stuff in, and he wasn't even like partially in before he climbed out. He was actually like fully in the pool, and then he managed to climb back out of it. So Swampfire must be really strong if he can like resist the suction or the vacuum of the portal. Although it's not the first time we've seen Swampfire have like absurd strength. Because like in the first episode, no, not the first episode, the weather machine episode, because he roots himself to the ground and then he manages to push it over. Oh wait, I just realised I don't need that there anymore. Yeah, that's there so I can easily find the part where I wasn't here, so I can actually hear what's been said.
Sure.
Yeah, and of course we'd also have Manny and Kevin kind of at each other's throats multiple times. It's not too surprising considering their personalities definitely are like similar but also conflicting in different ways.
No.
Yeah. And of course, we also have Kevin be a little more resourceful with his powers because he pulls a bunch of coins out of his pocket and like absorbs the metal from them,
mm-hmm.
and then uses that to break the machine, break the little device holding him.
Yeah, because he said something like anything in a pinch. This will have to do.
Yeah. Okay, have you said everything about this episode, or everything you have to say about this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, final episode. Now we have X equals Ben plus 2. It's a bit of a strange title.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it makes some sense. Okay, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so we get personally, Nanette pointed this out as we were watching the episode. He uses a new alien in the middle of a crisis. So it's like, really, I would think you would try out a new alien in a, non-combat, kind of situation so you could find out what this thing does. But he decides to try out this Alien X.
Yeah.
He's very powerful. He's literally able to alter reality. And then he becomes completely useless because as he comes to find out, it actually represents multiple personalities within the construct. And he's a third voice. This is what I was talking about before. Again, you have the female, compassion. You have the male aggression, very stereotypical. and it's meant that Ben is going to be the voice of reason to kind of break the tie between these two. But unless he can do that,
yeah,
literally just to take the decision to take a step requires arguing using Robert's Rules of Order or the equivalent thereof.
yeah.
It's a bureaucracy run amok.
Yeah, because it probably is a good thing that Ben didn't try this alien before now, because otherwise then he'll be like just sitting completely still. I'm sure he would have, if he would have gone at Alien X at a different time, he might have probably like come to some kind of resolution at some point. But I'd imagine then it would have taken way longer, because obviously in this situation the Earth is in danger, and Ben's trying to get the he's trying to resolve the current crisis going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Alien X is a celestial sapien who are like, we'll actually learn a little bit more about celestial sapiens in a later season of one of the next shows. But yeah, celestial sapiens, they're actually like constantly making decisions and altering the universe, like on a subconscious level without even realizing it. So as I believe Ben actually can move, but it's just because all the decision making they're going through, they're consciously choosing to make Alien X still while they're going through all this.
I think the rational argument that he makes when the two entities are like going on about how we're the most powerful, entities in the universe, we can literally do anything, and he goes, you might be able to do anything, but you don't actually do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're useless.
You're effectively useless. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'll point out that Bellicus and Serena, the two personalities in Alien X,
Mm-hmm.
they are actually it's not a case where they're only around when Ben is transformed to Alien X. They're actually like still conscious and exist in the universe even when Ben's not turned into Alien X.
Right.
So while Ben isn't Alien X and time is passing, they're like still around and making decisions and altering things. I think they can't really do much else when there's only two of them.
True.
We also have the Incursion Emperor, Milius. He kind of looks like Jabba the Hutt, or at least that's the vibe I got from him. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, and also Alien X. When Ben turns into Alien X, he pulls a move that Superman does in the first Christopher Reeve movie. It's almost exactly the same actually, because it's
Oh yeah, to stop the river. Yeah.
Yeah, the dam breaks and it starts flooding. Except in this instance, Alien X doesn't fly around the world really quickly to then reverse time.
Right.
He just draws a circle and then makes time reverse specifically for the dam itself.
Yeah.
And we also have the introduction of okay, there aren't any pictures. There's they introduce the bounty hunter 77, who is not related to 66 but is the same species as him. I suppose we now have both a Jango Fett and a Boba Fett.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Although I suppose 77 will probably be the Boba Fett, and then 66 will be the Jango Fett, because 66 is a more purplish color. Yeah, yes, 66 more of a purple, and then 77's more of a pink or a magenta. And we also have the incursions, who are frog people. I do find it funny that when Emperor Milius when his daughter comes back, because like he 7/7 ransomed her for, and Emperor Milius like transferred money to his account, and then his daughter then offered 7/7 more money to overthrow him.
Yeah,
which I do find funny. And I even like his Milius's reaction when like she's actually bought him and she like says all this.
yeah, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Now, now I'm putting you in prison with your mother.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder what mom did.
Oh,
Yeah.
These
I mean,
are
they do
not
mention
nice people.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin does mention that incursions either enslave people or kill them if they can't enslave them. And of course, we also have we have when Ben is finally transformed back from Alien X, because obviously I'm assuming he comes to some kind of an agreement with Belisik and Serena to actually release him.
Yeah.
Because while he's turned into Alien X, they can literally decide to just not let him turn back.
Right.
Because in this instance, it's not based on how long Ben has been the alien, but rather, I don't know if that's the same for all the aliens, but specifically Alien X, he can't just wait for the Elmtrix to time out.
Yeah, they even said you're never leaving. My thing is, if you are the most powerful beings in the world and you're always at a stalemate because there's only two of you, why haven't you created more of you?
I don't quite think it works like that. Because obviously this specific celestial sapien, his DNA was put into the Omnitrix, and thus was like basically born as like a something for the Omnitrix.
No, I
So
meant
that's why
the
there's only
aliens
two, so that
themselves.
then Ben can then turn into Alien X and then become the third personality in the whole.
Yeah.
If Alien X was like other celestial sapiens, they're born naturally with three personalities.
Right.
So Ben is basically just filling that gap.
I got it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about this specific episode?
No, other than I'll tell you what, if I was Ben, I would never want to revisit that particular
He even
thing
says that he
ever
won't.
again. Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I'm never doing that one again.
I believe this would, with Ben having access to these like 10 new aliens in this series, that would bring his alien count up to 30 or 29, depending on if you count Ghost Freak as being in the Omnitrix again. Although the previous aliens he doesn't have access to right now. He will use all of them again. It's more specifically the original 10, and then like one of the extra aliens every now and then. I believe Ben does actually use Cannonball again, which I've noticed seems to be a favourite on the writers and animators, because Cannonball was used quite a lot after he was introduced.
I'm sure he's easy to animate. He's just a ball.
Yeah. Well, I would say easy to animate, but when you actually look at like still frames of Cannonball, there's his proportions are very bizarre. Because like one episode he'll be like have a really thin waist. Sometimes he'll be the same height as Grandpa Max, even though he's technically supposed to be taller.
Right.
Actually, fine. Okay, no, that's not. Okay, no, I'm not finding any like what am I typing? yeah. So that's the final episode. So next week we'll talk about something else. Obviously, the week after that we'll then be talking about season 2 of Alien Force. So, okay, so we are now finished with that. I do like Alien X, despite the handicap with his power, with using him.
But it's such a hindrance if he's got to argue with them every single time he uses them, for them to even just release him so he can go and do something else and save the world.
But it will make it consistent that they do that. I know it can technically be kind of annoying if they do that every time, but at the same time, it does make it consistent. Yeah, so, so 2 weeks from now will be Alien Force Season 2.
Yep.
And then we'll be continuing with the Hybrid Conspiracy. We'll get a few more episodes of that. And, but before that, obviously later on we have Geeky Geezers.
Geeky Geezers tonight at 8 Central. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. It's going to be interesting. Are you going to be on with Matchstick next Tuesday for Cultural Fortress?
I am not on the panel for this Cultural Fortress is coming. I'm not actually sure who it is that's actually going to be on.
Yeah, so Cultural Fortress on Mr. Matchstick's channel on Tuesday night. I am not going to be on. In fact, I'm kind of pulling back from Cultural Fortress. I really need to limit the number of streams that I'm on. I can't keep up the pace and be able to get some of my own stuff done. So I will not be on Cultural Fortress going forward, but you can look forward to that on Tuesday. Of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays is always the Wolf 10 Rambles during the day. Wednesday over on
Green Lion Girl has her gaming.
Green Lion Girl on Wednesdays and Fridays. Soundtracks with Birdman on Wednesday. And then again, next Friday, I will have my drunk stream. I don't know what my topic's going to be, but, keep an eye on that if you're interested.
And then, of course, Saturday is Saturday Night Rewatch on Netters Network, Retro Cinema. And we'll be watching Alienation.
Yep.
And then next Sunday, I'm thinking we talk about something Star Trek related, because we've not done that on my channel. And also this will be
let's talk about next week offline when we get back into and you can update people later. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we were popular today. We got 4 thumbs up.
Hey, nice.
Do we? I don't see any thumbs up. Wait, unless I'll click the reset button when we're finished.
You have to. If you reset the YouTube, you'll see it.
Yeah. So until next time, let the Matrix light your darkest hour. Goodbye.
Yep. Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.